Hi, everybody. This is Jennifer Marcichek. I'm with Scott Edwards Architecture, and we're here today. I'm here today with Brooks Ostendorf from Lango Hansen Landscape Architects, and we're here to talk about an exciting project happening in Dundee at the Sander Estate Park. You'll see on your screen. Our two firms, along with Harper Hoff, Peterson Margalis Civil Engineers, is working with Chehalem Park and Rec District and Jan and her estate team to develop a plan for this park. So I want to talk to you about that a little today. First, a little background on the park. It was acquired by CPRD in 2017 from Jan Sander. And her intention is that the property be used in a way to benefit the citizens of Dundee. And since that time, CPRD has worked with the neighbors and community in developing a plan for the park, which is a balance between recreational needs, residents' concerns, the park's natural resources, and the site's historical heritage. The Sander family raised various tree and fruit crops on the property here since the early 1900s and operated a hazelnut nursery here until the 1970s. So since the property was acquired, there were several neighborhood and community meetings held in 2018, along with an online survey meeting with the Dundee Parks Advisory Committee and discussion at City Council. And then in early 2019, our team was formally hired by CPRD to develop a master plan for the park. So since that time, we've worked with Jan and her team, as well as CPRD, to develop the plan we'll talk to you more about today. And then before we get into that, just a little on the schedule. So there are some community meetings set up right now, the first being November 17th or 19th, and then another one set up for December 3rd. And then the plan and the feedback from the community that's gathered at those meetings, as well as what's submitted online or afterwards, will be reviewed by the CPRD board at their meeting on January 28th, 2021. And then our team is continuing to work on this plan and the land use application submittal, which will be reviewed by City of Dundee early next year. So that's our current schedule. And then, as I said, public input can happen at those two meetings currently scheduled, but can also be submitted up until 5 p.m. Friday, December 4th, directly to CPRD and Kat Ricker, and her email address is kricker@cprdnewburgh.org. Comments can also be mailed to the administration headquarters at 125 South Elliott Road, Newburgh, 97132. And with that, we will dive into our presentation, and I'll let Brooks start us off.
Hi, everyone. As Jennifer mentioned, I'm Brooks Ostendorf with Lango Hansen Landscape Architects, and we've been working closely with the team in developing the plans for the park. And this slide just gives you a sense of how we approach every project, but specifically with this one, we want to take cues in equal measure from the surrounding landscape and the site itself. Obviously, agriculture and horticulture play a significant role in this area and even on the site itself. And we want to pay tribute to that, as well as to the Sander family and how they've contributed to the area and the site. As Jennifer mentioned, there was a hazelnut nursery on site. And so that's just one example of the historical use of the site and how we want to use that to develop plans for the park. So as we dive into each design process, we want to take a close look at the existing site and what's out there now and analyze how those features can provide opportunities and constraints for us. I think the first thing you'll notice when you go out to the site is the significant elevation change from the east side of the site to the west side. It's almost 50 feet of elevation change. And so when you go up to the west side of the site, there are some pretty amazing views you can get to the site, to the city, and to the mountain range beyond if it's a clear day. And then on the opposite side of the site, on the east side, there are existing buildings of historic nature to the family and a lot of meaning there, including the existing home and garage, which are of kind of mid-century style, and then a historic barn shown here, which is bordered on both sides by large mature trees that also have significance to the family and the site itself. So we want to take every measure to preserve those if they are healthy, as they do contribute a good deal of character to the site, and we want to keep that. There's also on the north side of Southwest 5th Street some connections we want to be cognizant of as we develop the plans, whether it be City Dundee Hall on the west side, Billick Park across the street, and the existing elementary school at the northeast corner. And so as we develop plans for the park, we want to make sure we're paying attention to potential connections to those, whether it be a crosswalk across the street and how people will enter the site from off-site. Another thing to note is that the City of Dundee transportation plan calls for 2 street connections on this site. The first is on the west side of the site, and that connection is a new street connection from Southwest Greystone Place to Southwest 5th Avenue. And so that would include 2 lanes of traffic, sidewalks, and new trees. So that would occur along that edge. And then at the east side of the site, there's a future shared use path connection from Southwest 5th Avenue to Southwest 7th. For the construction of this project to happen, the City of Dundee is requiring that that connection from Greystone Place to Southwest 5th Avenue occur, as well as street improvements along 5th Avenue. So the connection at the east side of the site would be a future plan. So we want to take that all into consideration as we develop the proposed design, which is shown here for the future proposed features. And so I think in addition in the topography, when you're looking at the plan from above like this shows, it is an elongated site. And what that really does is provide an opportunity to create a series of varied spaces throughout the whole park. There's also the existing structures in the northeast corner that create kind of a cluster. And since they're existing on site, it really tells us that that's where the entrance needs to occur. It's also across from the elementary school and closer to downtown Dundee. And so we feel like a lot of people will be coming from that area. And so we focus the entrance here, first with an entrance grove off of 5th Avenue, which kind of alludes to the hazelnut groves that were once on site. And that brings you into the plaza area, which is defined by the 3 existing buildings as well as a proposed reception hall / community building, which Jennifer will get into a little more detail later on in the presentation. But that starts to create a really nice plaza space that can be flexible in nature. And we definitely want to use a number of ways to further define that and make it more of a pedestrian scale feature. To the west of the plaza and the entry space is a new parking lot, surface parking lot, with about 48 stalls. And so that is more centrally located on the site and provides an easier access point to the plaza as well as to the rest of the park. And just south of that, south of where those existing mature trees are, is a new play area. That was one of the things that was mentioned in the public survey as being highly desirable. I do want to note that it is across the street from Billick Park where there is another play area. So whatever we do here, we want to make sure we're not redundant in what we're proposing. But later on in the presentation, we'll share some images of what we think that could be. In addition to the play area, we're showing a new picnic shelter just to the south of that, which could be a perfect place for parents or guardians to observe the children as they play at the park. And then a series of pathways throughout connect all these features and along those paths as well, there's a series of benches and picnic tables, and just really trying to create a series of stopping points, including these ornamental gardens shown in this kind of purple hue that occur along the main central pathway going east to west. So as we go west, we're also showing a new amphitheater feature. And the idea here is to take advantage of the views out to the site and beyond, as well as take advantage of the topography. It really lends itself well to creating a seating feature, amphitheater-like, that can host small to medium-sized events. And then associated with that would be an additional structure and bathroom to create kind of a counterpoint to the hub on the east side of the site and create a destination to bring people from the east side to the west side and really have just a dynamic feature on both sides of the site. And then finally, on the west side of the site, we're showing that connection to Greystone Place. So there would be sidewalks on either side, 2 lanes of traffic, and then an opportunity for on-street parking as well. So people could park at the upper side of the site and access the park that way as well. So the rest of the slides will basically be focusing on some of the areas I just touched on, but since this is a master plan level, we haven't dived into the minute details, but really want to just start to give you a sense of what we're envisioning for the site and some of these features that I talked about. The first of which is that plaza and entry sequence off of Southwest 5th Avenue in the northeast corner. And what we really want here is to create a really welcoming space to the community, to welcome all users to the site, as well as create a flexible space so that it can change throughout the year and be used in many different ways. And some of the ways we do that is to provide a variety of seating for both passive and active participation at the site, using large canopy trees to kind of create that canopy feel above and create an outdoor room, as well as provide shade in the warmer months. And also using just little details like engravings in the paving or in the seating features to help tell the story of Sander Estate and the city of Dundee. So I'll let Jennifer take over the community building, which is tied into the plaza.
Right, thanks, Brooks. Yeah, so the one significant new building we're proposing on the site is what we're calling a community building or a reception building, and we'll kind of looking at various functions for that. Right now, it includes a small catering kitchen, a sport kitchen, as well as an event space that could be used as a classroom or a meeting space, perhaps a wedding reception, those kind of features. That opens up on the south side of the building, and then various support spaces, including restrooms and storage. So it's fairly small in stature. We're really envisioning any new structure on this in this project to really fit with the residential character of the surrounding neighborhood. So 1-story, kind of lower pitched roofs, like some of the images that Brooks showed in the first imagery slide. And we're really looking at this building to kind of complete the circle of this new plaza area, also surrounded with the existing home garage and the barn. And already you've seen how CPRD has used the site a little bit, the barn hosting a holiday market recently. They're envisioning perhaps some farmers market opportunities to happen here as well. So really a very active space that this building will anchor in addition to the other buildings on the site. And then here's some more imagery that we're looking at, ways to open up the building. You'll see some images of the walls opening up there, so there's real connection of indoor space to outdoor space, kind of the barn, not barn, or sort of agricultural look with exposed wood, really light and open and inviting. So that's what we're looking for this structure, as well as some of the other structures on site. All right, I think you can go on. Thanks.
All right. And so again, since this is the master plan level, we haven't gotten into the fine details of what things like the play area will actually look like. But in response to the community survey, one of the responses, or one of the highly desirable responses, was to incorporate nature play. And this doesn't have to be tied into just the play area. That can mean simply unstructured play throughout the site. So that can be accomplished through the series of paths. It can be accomplished through the garden areas. But for the play area in specific, we want to have a safe space for kids to have that unstructured play through use of a lot of natural materials. So again, not repeating what's over at Billick Park, but this kind of gives you a sense of what that starts to look like, using natural materials such as wood and boulders, and just letting kids kind of use their mind and use the features as they see fit. We also want to make this usable by a wide range of ages. That was another point made in the community survey. And even for even the older ages, adults and things, we can use things such as exercise equipment, outdoor exercise equipment. That could occur at the park course nodes that we've shown along the trail system. So we just want to make sure it's a welcoming and safe play area for a wide range of ages. And then we have, again, the structures, outdoor structures that aren't as programmed as, say, the new reception hall, but can be used for a number of events throughout the year, smaller, more intimate events. So there's a picnic shelter shown south of the play area, and then a shelter shown in association with the amphitheater. And again, we don't imagine these to be huge events, but just a way for people, another way for people to gather in that sense. And so that top left image really shows you the sense of scale, and could host events like a small concert, a wedding, or a small movie night as well. And the structures can be used in concert with that, to be able to use the site all year round and provide that shelter. And again, as incorporating a bathroom and storage at the upper side of the park, so folks don't feel the need to go from the far west side of the site to the east side of the site. And then if Jennifer, you want to add anything else to these shelters, let me know.
Yeah, so I think just in keeping with what I talked about a little bit with the community building, we really want all of the new structures kind of to relate to each other. So just thinking of the community building, maybe setting the tone for what those will look like, but these will be more open and more of a just open shelter instead of having the enclosure that the community building has. But again, kind of exposing natural structure, wood or stone or concrete, kind of more of a natural look to the structures is what we're looking at right now.
Great. And so again, in responding to the community survey, one of the highly desired elements to this park was trails, or a perimeter trail. And obviously we're dealing with significant topography change on site, but we want to take advantage of that. There's and that informs kind of the meandering aesthetics seen here, to get from one side of the site to the other in an accessible way for all. But really having multiple access points into the park from Fifth Avenue or Southwest Greystone Place, and providing a number of ways to get from one side of the park to the other and throughout. So that it takes numerous visits to the park to really explore it all. And so Again, we want to make sure it's accessible and safe, meandering in nature, kind of an organic feel to it, and how topography can be used to our advantage from both a aesthetic point of view, as well as could be used for buffering from park uses as well as adjacent properties. And there's even an opportunity to incorporate educational signage on the trail system to tell about the park's history, the ornamental gardens, or different uses for the park. And tied into that, tied closely to the pathway system, are the ornamental plantings that can be used throughout the site. We obviously can use these as a way to pay tribute to the agricultural and historical history of the site and surrounding area. So whether that means harvest gardens where people can go and pick fruits and things from the gardens. There's an opportunity to incorporate educational classes in the proposed buildings and teach people how to harvest or garden and use those things in the kitchen. There's also an opportunity to incorporate more ornamental gardens like perennials and flowering plants to create that year-round seasonal interest. And then obviously we are in the Pacific Northwest, there's a lot of rain. And so stormwater will be an integral part of the project and how to use native plants and to make that really aesthetically pleasing. And so this last slide just shows kind of what we're envisioning. So using a lot of color, a lot of interesting plants, and in kind of a more soft, organic way to pay tribute to the Sander family and how gardening was an integral part of their life as well. And so with that, we'll just land on the plan again and just thank you all for tuning in. And again, welcome all public input. Please send that through by Friday, December 4th, as Jen mentioned at the top. And otherwise, we'll look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Thank you.